We were just talking off air that our next guest has done probably a few dozen of these types of interviews. Magic Valley this morning, we're at 7:22 and it's 45 on News Radio 1310, KLIX, News Radio 1310.com. Lieutenant Governor Brad Little joining us in studio, and it's likely going to be in a couple of months that lieutenant is erased off the office door and it's just reads governor. Bill Cowley with you as well this morning. You know, nobody that I ever know. First of all, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Nobody in politics ever takes anything lightly. Everyone, obviously, when you're doing this, you look at things and you realize sometimes floors fall out, skies fall, anything can happen in the course of 11 days. But you've got to be feeling, I would think, very confident going down the stretch.
Well, we feel all right, but we don't want to take anything for granted, any voter for granted. I'm running for governor of the whole state of Idaho, so I'd love to have 100% of the vote. I'll take 50% plus one, but but I'd love to have 100% of the vote, and that's why we're going everywhere.
This bus tour is so unique, and the other candidates who've been in with us this morning have all been talking about. I had a friend at Fish and Game one time who says Idaho is really like four different states because of the geography and the different interests and the like. So you've got to be getting feedback from people, and obviously the feedback you might get in the Capital District versus North Idaho versus the East and then South. You start to probably put all this together, and I think Lawrence Wasden said it's like the pixels that make up your TV picture, and eventually it all comes together. What sort of feedback do you get?
Well, I've spent my whole life. I had when I was our cousins lived here in Twin, so I mean, my whole life I've spent going around the state of Idaho, whether it was in leadership in agriculture, or business, or education, or philanthropy. So I've this is not my first rodeo going around the state of Idaho, and in fact, when Teresa and I got married 40 years ago, she went on the Jim McClure bus. We came home. We got married in the summer, and I came home and I went up to the ranch, and she went on the Jim McClure bus 40 years ago. So, and it's not my first bus tour either. I never rode it when I was when I was ranching, but I always supported the candidates. So when the bus got into our local area around Emmett, I was always on the bus there. So I've been on the bus quite a few times.
From what I've seen, when the real campaign season got started around Labor Day, I think that people could say that the campaign you've run compared to what we may be seeing elsewhere, has been, let's say, non-controversial. Is that a good way to put that?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty much an open book. People know what my positions are, and I hope, and you never want to take this for granted, but I hope I know what's important to the people in the different communities. That's part of the job, is to be able to put all those different groups together. I've always had a good relationship with the legislature, whether before I was serving, when I was serving, and now. And that's one of your that's one of your best connections, whether it's the legislature or locally elected officials, the school board. Every one of those are your connection with that community, plus coming to the community. And I've done a lot of economic development work here in the Magic Valley.
I just know that, and I see sometimes people running in politics, positions change. And when I see that maybe in your opponent, then I have to wonder, okay, what else are they not always being upfront with me about? And I know you don't necessarily want to dwell on the opposition, but I don't think that you've had any point where anybody's, as you said, they pretty much know where you stand at this point. But you got to look at that and you got to say, hey, from a voter's perspective, who do you trust? And I guess you'd have to, right now you could make a pretty good argument you're the guy.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you work at it every day, is people change their positions, but so do a lot of things change. But mine have been pretty steady all along. People know what they get with me.
When this is all over with, and immediate plans might be to probably take a little bit of a breather, but then you've got to start preparing for that transition. What's on the agenda?
Well, if we're fortunate enough, and believe me, we're not taking it for granted. On this trip, people want to ask me about X after the election and Y after the election. Say, look, we're focusing on one date, and that's getting all the votes we can a week from next Tuesday. But you do have to It was interesting. When I was in college, I took one political science class, and I took it from a guy named Sid Duncombe, and he was the budget director for Cecil Andrus. Andrus got elected after years and years of Republican administrations, and they had to put a budget together in a very limited amount of time after having a pretty hostile relationship with Governor Samuelson. And, for only having one political science class, I took a good one because we talked about, the challenges of starting flat-footed, not having any people embedded into the administration and having to put a budget together. Obviously, if we're lucky enough, I've got a big advantage because, I know most of the people, and it'll be a much friendlier. But it is a challenge. It's one of the things that in a constitutional republic, that peaceful change of power is a challenging time. There's a lot of, you've got appointments to make, you've got budget to do, you've got to draft a state of the state. There's a lot of work to do, and so there may be a vacation, but it'll be a pretty short one because there's a lot of work to do.
We're down to about a minute. Anything I didn't mention that you think people should know going into the last 10, 11 days?
No, the most important thing is people need to get out. Mysterious things happen when there's a low turnout, and I want the Magic Valley to be very well represented in this election. It's important not only for all the constitutional races. We've got a congressional race that's up. There's local races, and it's really important that people participate. It's the essence of our government.
For people out there who'd like to know more about the campaign, everybody's got the website up right at this point. You've had it up probably for a long time, but
yeah, Brad Little for Idaho. Yep.
And that's FOR, right?
Yep.
So we don't want to confuse any. There's no reason for a 4 there. Number 4. And you've got a Facebook presence as well, as I understand.
Yes, we do. Brad Little for governor.
We want to thank you for coming by today. We wish you good luck, and I think that some of us have a good feeling about this. I know that I'm not the guy on the hot seat, but we look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, super. News coming up. Lieutenant Governor Brad Little, Republican candidate for governor, joining us in the studio. And we've got a break for news with Benito Baeza in just a moment. It's 46 on Magic Valley this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.